Good morning.
Morning, ma'am.
Okay. Sandra, Shreya, Alina, please switch on your videos. Irene is not in our class. Don't know. Alina, please switch on your video. Did you go through the portion? Evolution of psychology. Yes. What did we start with, Sanjana?
Structuralism.
Structuralism. Then after that, Sandra?
Functionalism.
Functionalism. Then Sanam, third one.
Behaviorism.
You look different today.
Eh?
You look very different today. Clean shave. Okay, behaviorism. After that, Shreya. Shreya went. Emmeline. After behaviorism,
Psychoanalysis.
psychoanalysis. Okay, after psychoanalysis, Kevin.
Ma'am, humanistic perspective.
Humanistic perspective.
Ma'am, explain this topic again.
Which one?
Humanistic perception.
Yes, I'll do. After humanistic,
Cognitive perspective.
cognitive perspective. Did we miss any?
Gestalt theory.
Gestalt psychology. Okay, after functionalism. I think after functionalism, no? Discuss Gestalt psychology. Yeah, humanistic perspective. The basic concept is it considers humans as essentially good. The positive nature of human beings that is considered in humanistic perspective, and the whole focus is on the human in front of us to maximize the human's potential, to maximize the capabilities of that person, to reach the full potential of whatever that person is capable of doing. That is humanistic perspective. Okay. The most important point is this thing, the positive view of human nature in humanistic perspective. Then other part is this, these factors, fulfilling our needs, fulfilling all the capabilities, reaching the maximum potential of everything, our capabilities, our talent, skills, everything. Okay, that is basically human, and it's a very philosophical school of psychology. When we discuss more about the therapies, disorders, and all, you'll understand more about it. Okay, it's a very philosophical one. And I told you about self actualization. Self actualization means reaching, there is a need hierarchy. Like, what are the basic needs of humans? Basic needs, survival needs.
Food, clothing, shelter.
Yes. So these are the basic drives. After fulfilling that, we move on to the next hierarchy. There is Maslow's hierarchy. Abraham Maslow, we discussed yesterday about a person named Abraham Maslow. He has developed a need hierarchy. And on top of that hierarchy, it's in the form of a pyramid. Have you seen a food pyramid? For balanced diet and all, we discuss about food pyramid. Like twice, we have a one need hierarchy or needs pyramid. You can call the needs pyramid. There, on top of that, we have self actualization, which means by fulfilling each of our needs, each of our capabilities, we reach the full potential of whatever we are capable of doing. That is self actualization, becoming the actual self. Okay, that is also one part of humanistic perspective. It is one of the theoretical principle of humanistic perspective. Okay, then any other doubts? No. Okay. Now the next portion is how psychology developed in India. Okay, and the first few paragraphs are regarding the establishment of departments and all those things that you can just read up. Page number 10. For those who have the textbook, page number 10. And those who did not get the textbook or those who are not able to collect it from here, if you can arrange somebody to get it from the school and then courier it to you, it will be very useful. Otherwise, you'll have the exams very soon. No? So it will be difficult. So try to arrange some method to get your text. So on page number 10, development of psychology in India. In that, the first two paragraphs are basically about the establishment of departments, establishment of laboratory, then how each step was taken to develop psychology in India. Okay. And the rest of the thing that you can read up, and if you have any doubt, please let me know. It's self-descriptive. If I again keep on reading, we'll just waste our time, and you guys will be even bored. Even I'll be bored. Okay. So we'll discuss the next paragraph that is about Durganand Sinha's book, Psychology in a Third World Country. That's his book. And in that, he has divided the developments into kind of four phases. We'll discuss about that. And uh, before we discuss about the development of psychology in India, mainly the developments came from the influence of the Western psychology. Psychology developed or took birth in the Western scenario. From there, we gained influences and then we started developing it in India. So, most of the concepts that we still follow have influences from the Western concepts, Western psychology. You'll see how that changed or are still changing. Okay. Yeah. Development of psychology in India. Philosophical roots in the Indian tradition have not influenced the development of modern psychology in India. The development of the discipline in India continues to be dominated by Western psychology. Sorry, that was the eraser. Dominated by Western psychology. So Indian tradition, not only us, but most of the people say that Indian tradition has those philosophies, so and so concepts and all in earlier days. I mean, from our traditions, from our values, we take up so many concepts, especially Ayurveda, that has so many Indian principles, Indian concepts, isn't it? Indian tradition. Yes. Then medicinal methods from Indian what earlier ways of treating people. That is included in Ayurveda. But here in psychology, although we have or we discuss about Indian traditions, the main influence or the dominance of concepts or principles comes from the Western psychology. It is of Western origin and is always dominated by Western concepts. Then, this is what I told you about the development of the departments, then how Indian psychology began, who are the pioneers, who put up what, all those things are given in that paragraph. After that comes the four phases described by Durganand Sinha in his book Psychology in a Third World Country, The Indian Experience. That's the book. Psychology in a Third World Country, The Indian Experience. It was published in the year 1986. Please note the name Durganand Sinha. Okay, and basically he considered psychology as a social science, and he is trying to you know understand or describe the history of modern psychology in India. Okay, how the psychology that is currently present is or was developed in the Indian scenario. So the first stage we can divide it into four phases: till 1947, till 1960s, post 1960s, and 1970s. These are the four phases. So till 1947, which means it is still what is significant?
Ma'am, independence.
Independence, Indian independence. So until Indian independence, psychology or the field of psychology in India, it was basically experimental. Experimental means more of studies based, research based. Then a psychoanalytic based. Psychoanalysis came from who's the father of psychoanalysis?
Sigmund Freud.
Sigmund Freud. And psychological testing for military testing, all those things. Okay. Now, after that came till 1960s, till that period, expansion into different branches link Western psychology to Indian context, which means after the independence till 1960s, what happened is, um, yes, what happens is the branches of psychology in India began to develop, which means the main field of psychology started dividing into different branches. That happened till 1960s, and during that period, they were trying to link the Indian concept with the Western concept. Okay, they were trying to create a link with Indian scenarios are there and Western scenarios are there. They were trying to bridge between the two. Okay, that happened in 19, I mean until 1960s. After that, post 1960s, problem oriented research focused on addressing the problems of Indian society. Also, limitations of excessive dependence on Western psychology was realized, which means problem oriented research focused became problem oriented or research focused. So, what they did was, I mean, people who developed psychology in India, what they did was they focused on the problems in India. Okay, what were the problems in India in which psychology can be applied? So if we find a problem, if we find a hypothesis, then if we start testing that, what do we call it?
Hypothetical deductive model.
Hypothetical deductive model. But why do we use it? For what purpose? When we eat breakfast, do we think of hypothetical deductive model? No. Where do we apply it?
Experiments.
Experiments and research, basically. Okay. So when they thought of the problems and when they thought it from a psychological perspective, they started research on that. That's why it's called problem oriented and research focused. And they focused on addressing the problems of Indian society. We're discussing about the development of psychology in India. So this is the third stage post 1960s, where they focused more on the problems of Indian society. They viewed it from a psychological perspective, and also they realized or they started understanding the excessive dependence on Western concepts, Western psychology. They started realizing the fact that they are depending too much on Western psychology than developing concepts of their own. Whose own?
Indian
Being
concepts.
Indians. Yes, Indian concepts. That was the third stage. Now the last one is 1970s. During the 1970s, it is known as the phase of indigenization. One mark question. Phase of indigenization. Here what happened is they rejected Western framework. So in the previous stage, they started realizing that they are depending too much on Western psychology. So finally, when they reached 1970s, they rejected Western framework, developed psychological approaches based on traditional Indian psychology that came from ancient texts and scriptures. That's what happened in the last stage, 1970s. So now we can say that we have so many concepts from Indian psychology that exist in India itself. Okay, but earlier, most of the influences or the majority of influences were from Western concepts, Western psychology. I'll summarize once more. Durganand Sinha's book, Psychology in a Third World Country, The Indian Experience. That is the name of the book. And it was published in 1986. There were 4 phases, 1947 till 1960s, post 1960s, 1970s. Okay, till 1947 and 1970s, fix that. Then till 1960s and post 1960s, that comes in the middle part. Earlier, it was only about the experiments conducted, then the psychoanalytical methods used, then psychological testing. That was the basis. Then after that, it divided into different branches. Then they realized that they have an excessive dependence on the Western psychology or the Western concepts. Later on, they cancelled or they started focusing more on Indian psychology and they disregarded the Western concepts, Western frameworks. And that phase, it has a name, phase of indigenization. That's all. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and I think our dry part of the chapter is kind of over. Now, after this, we have the branches, then the context where the psychologists work and all. That'll be a bit more interesting than the previous one. Finish? Shall we move on? Okay, branches of psychology. Now, before we start discussing, how many of you know which all branches of psychology? Even if you know the names, even if you know the concept, speak up. Abhijit, please switch on the video.
Ma'am, I mean outside.
Did you inform someone about that?
Yes, ma'am, I'm going to my mother's house.
I'm asking, did you inform anyone here about that?
Ma'am, in school.
Yeah, at school.
No, ma'am.
You have to, okay, next time.
Okay, ma'am.
Then, coming back to branches. One common one that we all have heard.
Parapsychology.
Parapsychology is not exactly psychology, but still.
Pseudopsychology?
Pseudopsychology is not psychology. Pseudo means, what did I teach
False.
you? I've taught
False.
yeah, false. Sanam, what does the term pseudo mean?
False.
False. Where did we learn pseudo?
Biology.
And about what?
Pseudopodia.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. So pseudo means false. So pseudopsychology means
False psychology.
false psychology. Something that is not psychology, that is called pseudopsychology, like graphology, the thing traphinology, something. Based on skull, we study something, all those things.
Ma'am,
They
in
come under.
parapsychology, pseudoscience too.
I'm not too sure about that because parapsychology, some people consider it as pseudopsychology, but even people who do course on psychology go for studying parapsychology. So That might be because they believe that parapsychology is also a form of psychology, right? I'm not too sure. I'm
Ma'am,
not the best person
criminology.
to answer that. Yes, Emily?
Criminology.
Criminology, criminal psychology is there. Then,
Behavioral psychology.
huh?
Clinical
Behavior.
psychology.
Behavior.
Behavior psychology. Yes, Abhilash.
Clinical psychology.
Clinical psychology. That's a very common thing that we hear in this
Ma'am,
field. Clinical
psychiatry.
psychology. Psychiatry is not psychology. What is the difference? You have to know it.
Counseling psychology.
Counseling psychology is a field. Yes, correct.
Ma'am,
What is the difference?
psychiatry is being a
Forensic
doctor, right?
psychology.
Amal, I've told you don't speak in between when somebody is speaking. Yes, Eva.
Ma'am, psychiatry is being an actual doctor, right?
Yes,
And you can prescribe medicines and all, so it's
yes,
different from psychology.
yes. Psychiatrist is a person who has done MBBS. And psychologist is a person who has, if he or she is a clinical psychologist, then completed MPhil in psychology. If they are practicing as clinical psychologists, then they have done MPhil in psychology. They cannot prescribe medicines, but psychiatrists can. That's the difference. Okay. Yes, Amal, what was your point?
Psychology.
Forensic psychology, that is correct. Then,
Clinical psychology.
we discussed clinical psychology. You know what clinical psychology is?
It's deals with the counseling, therapy.
What does the clinical psychologist deal with? What would be the difference between counseling and clinical psychologist? We have that to study in this chapter.
Ma'am, counseling psychologists, they're not as, the problems they deal with are not as serious as clinical psychologists.
Yes,
And
that's the
clinical
reason.
psychologists, they give therapy.
Yes. So, for counseling psychologists, the problems that they deal with will be everyday problems, everyday life problems. Okay. But clinical psychologists would deal with even more serious problems, like the disorders that we deal with, phobia, then schizophrenia, all those kind of things. Okay. The severity of the disorder, or severity of the problem, that's the main difference between counseling and clinical psychologist. Okay, now, any other fields?
Experimental.
Experimental psychology. Now, in all the field, we have psychology.
Philosophy.
Philosophy is some other subject field, my dear. We gain
Ma'am,
concepts from philosophy. That's true.
neuropsychology.
Neuropsychology is there, which I hate. Then
Biological.
biological is related to this one, neuropsychology. Okay. Then
Sociology.
social psychology, not sociology. Sociology is a different field again, like philosophy. Social psychology is there. That's a branch. Then finished. Okay. Shall we see one by one? Yes. So the first one, which was the last perspective that we learned? Schools of
Oh,
psychology.
cognitive.
Cognitive. We have an entire field devoted to that. It is called cognitive psychology. What did we discuss under cognitive perspective?
uh, it believes that people develop their mind through experiences.
Hmm. What is cognition?
Knowing, learning.
Yeah, knowing. Cognition is the basic process of knowing. Then everything, thinking, decision making, problem solving, learning, everything comes under cognition. So the field devoted to studying all these processes, that is called cognitive psychology. And also, I also told you about the information processing model. That's one famous model in cognitive psychology, which means we compare our human mind to the computer system, especially when we study the theories on memory. Information processing model is very famous. The encoding, storage, retrieval process. That same thing happens in the computer also, as compared to human mind. Okay, so that field is called cognitive psychology. It investigates mental processes involved in acquisition. Acquisition means what does it mean to acquire something? Hmm? What does it mean to acquire something?
To get something. That's
To
what
get
acquire
something.
means.
Yes, involved in acquisition. Then storage, then manipulation. Manipulation means not in a negative manner. Manipulation means generally use of something. That is the meaning given here. Then transformation of information received from the environment along with its use and communication. That is, these whole things are investigated in this field, cognitive psychology. Then some follows an ecological approach that is focuses on the environmental factors to study cognitive processes in a natural setting, which means ecological approach means the presence of environmental factors. More study on ecology. Ecology means the environmental factors. So why are we studying environmental factors? To learn their effect on or influence on our behaviors or on our cognitive processes. Okay, so some cognitive psychologists take on this environmental approach or this ecological approach, which studies the environmental factors influence on our cognitive processes. We discuss about our experiences. They are subjective in nature. They are affected by internal and external factors. Remember? Yes, those external factors are included in these environmental factors or the ecological factors. Okay, that is cognitive psychology. Now we have biological psychology. Next one, biological psychology. See, the biological perspective, how psychological issues are impacted by biological processes. In the example shown here, that kid, we have discussed about this example. Remember the previous classes, one-sided mirror, we are observing a child who is very aggressive. Yes, and biological psychology, we learn what are the reasons for their behavior, what are the biological reasons for their particular behavior, what is happening in their body, what are the organic causes of the behavior or the problematic behavior or abnormality. That is biological psychology. Relationship between behavior and the physical system. That's the basic thing, including the brain and the rest of the nervous system, the immune system, and also genetics. So when we think of biological psychology, we think of the relation between the biological perspective and psychology. But the main thing that comes to our mind would be brain. We would not certainly think of immune system and also genetics, but they all are important factors. The nervous system, including the brain, the immune system, and the genetics, which means the hereditary factors. They also have a role in causing certain psychological problems. Okay. Now, neuropsychology. Neuropsychology means, again, you can relate from the words itself, neuro and then psychology. The role of neurotransmitters or chemical substances which are responsible for neural communication in different areas of brain and therefore in associated mental functions. Not only neurotransmitters, we also study about the nervous system, how the different neural connections and the improper transmission of the neural signal, how all those factors affect our behaviors and our mental processes. That is also studied under neuropsychology. Neuropsychology basically deals with the nervous system and the neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are the chemical substances in the that help in the neural communication and sending the signals, sending the nerve impulse. Okay, it's a very important term, neurotransmitter. Note that and keep. Then next one is developmental psychology. Developmental psychology means the field of psychology or the branch of psychology that deals with the different developmental stages, like physical, social, and psychological changes that occur at different ages and stages over a lifespan, over the entire lifespan from conception to old age. How we become what we are. That's the concept here. How we become what we are. Growth and development of a human being is discussed. We have an entire chapter for this field, this textbook. It starts from birth, even preterm. The from the time being the baby takes birth in the mother's womb. From there we are studying till old age and death. We have different stages and the characteristics. Okay, then social psychology, as you told me, social psychology, how people are affected by their social environment. Social environment would include other people or other environmental factors around you. That includes your family members, your friends, then your teachers, and everyone. Attitudes, conformity, obedience to authority, interpersonal attraction, helpful behavior. Remember altruism? We talked about altruism last day. Helping behavior, altruism without selfless helping. That is altruism. Without expecting anything in return. That is helpful behavior, aggression, social motivation, intergroup relations, etc. All these comes under social psychology. Again, we have chapters on these topics. It comes in +2, I think. Okay, that's social psychology. Cross-cultural and cultural psychology, that is again dealing with culture. From the name itself, you can understand how culture influences our behavior, our thought, behavior, and emotions. Human behavior is not only a reflection of human biological potential, but also a product of culture. We already know that, right? The way we think might be different from the Western culture. How people follow, or how people think or behave or express their emotions in Western culture might be entirely different from Indian culture. Yes. Then behaviors are studied in socio-cultural context, which means we in all the chapters we discuss about the cultural influences of behaviors and thoughts and emotions. In whichever chapter we are studying, suppose if we are studying developmental psychology, in that there is a concept death, hmm, and people believe different things about death. Like, for example, in one tribal community, they believe that death is caused by some evil factor, some demonic power. That is again cultural difference. Okay, so that's about cross cultural. I think it's almost time. It's no more, right? Yeah, we'll end. So just read up that portion. It's pretty simple. Cognitive psychology, we have already discussed. Then biological psychology, how the biological factors influence our thoughts, behaviors, emotions, all those things. Then developmental psychology, you have to know from birth to death till the entire lifespan, we are studying the different stages and phases. How each individual develop physically, emotionally, socially, and so on. Then we have social psychology. Social psychology, again, I told you, it's about the social environment, how your social environment influences you, how the presence of others influences you, how their interaction influence you, all that comes under social psychology. Then cross-cultural and cultural, we already discussed. Again, it's about the influence of culture on your behavior, emotions, and thoughts. And what is culture basically? They are the attitudes, beliefs, values, everything that is passed on from one generation to the next generation. That is culture. Attitudes, beliefs, values, traditions, everything that is passed on from one generation to the next generation. That is culture. So how that culture, how the set of values that you have got from your forefathers, how the set of beliefs that you have got from forefathers influence your behavior. That is your behavior, thoughts, and emotions. That is what we study in cross-cultural and cultural psychology. Okay, shall we wind up? It's already time. If you have any doubt, please contact me. Thank you.